of the power of consent, you're not going to like this. Before I read this, I want to preface it by saying I do not and we do not hate our African brothers and sisters. No, we don't. But when it comes to making claims, we have to hold everyone that was involved, all parties, all entities involved, accountable. So, as you know, the news today is about the Ghanaian president saying that slavery should be placed at the tippity top of crimes against humanity. And we agree. But with that being said, you also have to include the parties that were involved, not only the British, not only the Americans, the French and the Portuguese and the Dutch, but also there were some African tribes and kingdoms involved. Ghana served as a major hub for the transatlantic slave trade from the 15th to 19th centuries. Look at the word slave trade, to trade. With whom? With Europeans, particularly the British, Dutch, and Portuguese, building extensive forts along the Gold Coast to hold enslaved people. Approximately 10 to 15 million people were affected, with local kingdoms like the Ashanti often acting as intermediaries by trading captives for goods. So the English, the British will give goods in exchange for people. Key aspects of Ghana's involvement. See, everybody has to be held accountable. Slave forts and trading posts. The coast was dotted with trading posts run by various European powers, including the Portuguese, Dutch, and the British. Major trading sites, Cape Coast Castle and Amina Castle, established 1482, which is still being used today as a tourist attraction where they make money, were key detention centers where enslaved Africans were held before being shipped to the Americas, the Caribbean, Brazil, North America, Central America. Internal dynamics, the Ashanti Kingdom, see, it's a kingdom, not just tribe, and other local powers, see, captured and sold prisoners from neighboring regions for goods such as firearms and textiles. Asin Manso, the Asin Manso ancestral slave river, acted as a significant depot where captives from northern Ghana's Salagala market were allowed to rest and wash before reaching the coastal forts. So let me read that again. Acted as significant depot where captives from the northern Ghana's Salaga market were allowed to rest and wash before reaching the coastal forts. How kind. Modern legacy today, Ghana is a leader in advocating for reparations and has pushed for the UN to recognize the trade as a crime against humanity, as stated on BBC News and Al Jazeera. See? So in other words, they're pushing, advocating for reparations, but what? Who? Should Ghana receive reparations for what they participated in? Huh? The evidence is clear. And no, you should not get reparations, Ghana, for slavery if you contributed and acted by being intermediaries for trading captives for goods, for establishing forts and trading posts. Amina Castle, which is still around today, Cape Coast Castle. And there's another thing as well that you need to know. Let me just go back. Amina Castle, have you not noticed the cannons in Amina Castle? Which direction are they facing in, ladies and gentlemen? Which direction is Amina Castle's cannons facing? They are facing towards the sea. Trying to find a picture. As you can see here, the role of cannons at castles like Cape Coast were directed toward the sea to intimidate rival European powers and protect rather than threaten the slave trading enterprise, according to Silver Sea's blog. Slave trade duration European, particularly Dutch and British. So now we know who to get a claim from. involvement in slave trading in Ghana began significantly in the mid 1600s, with intense activity continuing into the early 19th century. Local involvement, coastal brokers, and the Ashanti Kingdom, remember that, traded captives, particularly from war or tribute for European goods and weapons. We're traded for European goods and weapons. Transition period, the trade decreased as the British abolished the slave trade and shifted to legitimate commerce in the 19th century, eventually dominating the area. Say the Council on Foreign Relations. That's the reference. But you see, the cannons were faced outward to the sea. As you can see, why? To protect the goods and assets known as men and women and children who were called slaves, not to fight off any other tribes that wanted to fight the slave masters. Because no one on the coast was a threat, because nobody was fighting to save those ancestors. They were not a threat in Africa, so they pointed the cannons out to the sea. If there was anyone trying to save us, those cannons would be faced inward too. There will be cannons faced inward. But as you can see, there's no cannons faced inward. Join us at the Power of Consent every Thursday, powerofconsent@gmail.com if you want to register, as we have a read through, talking about claims, talking about trusts, and all the things that matter to your financial wealth, and to know the law and what are your lawful rights. And when it comes to the subject matter of reparations, we have to delineate, we have to be clear about who is going to be the beneficiary and the recipient of these reparations. It shouldn't go to anyone that partook or benefited from the slave trade. That would not be justice.